Okay, so for the warm-up, we're gonna do the lunge matrix with the arm driver. We have the first position, right? And we're gonna go through 8 positions. And so we're just gonna alternate, but then we're gonna add in arm drivers. So I'm gonna go ahead and you could do this with me while I'm explaining. I'm gonna reach down on the first one. I'm gonna step forward, reach down on the second one. Now make sure you're putting all 4 points of contact and you're putting most of your load on that stepping foot. Then I'm gonna reach forward. And then again, all 4 points of contact here. I'm gonna drop my hips and I'm gonna reach high. Drop my hips, reach high. Then last but not least, I'm gonna rotate. And then if you want extra credit, you can go over the top reach, over the top reach. Over the top reach, over the top reach. So that's position 1. Then we do the same thing for position 2. So position 2, forward diagonal angle, toes slightly turned in. I'm gonna go down, forward, forward, up. Now remember, we're trying to monitor our entire body, see where we're at, see how we're feeling, see if we have any tightness. And so we're gonna put our feet in every single position that our feet can be in. And we're gonna put our torso and our shoulder and our scapula and our arms in every single position that they can be in as well. And we're gonna combine it together. So then we go, position 3 is lateral, down, lateral down. The whole time I'm trying to keep long spine, proud chest. I'm reaching forward, reach up, reach up. Again, always minding the load is in that stepping foot, right? Rotate, and then extra credit over the top reach, over the top reach. All right, position 4. Now I'm gonna do sort of a backward diagonal step and down. Backward diagonal step, again, loading that stepping foot every single time. Down, backward diagonal reach, and then I'm reaching up. So notice this trail leg gets locked out. If I don't lock this trail leg, what will tend to happen is I'll have too much lateral tension through the knee, and that's no bueno for the knee there. So we lock it out, so then I can load this stepping glute, load this stepping quad, right? And then I'm reaching up, and then rotate. So if you step back in any one of these positions and you're a little bit wobbly, just don't go as deep with your hip and don't step as far back, right? You can just shrink the distance of your step and shrink the distance of your depth. And then that's gonna not put as much load and as much neurological sort of chaos, right, through the system. But the goal is to be able to step further and get deeper. So then this position 5 is straight back. And again, remember, I'm loading all 4 points, 2 in the ball, 2 in the heel when I step back, and then I'm reaching down. Again, loading here. So if I step too far back, what that will turn into is then I'm loading the non-stepping foot, and that's basically the same as position 1, right? That forward lunge. So we step back, load that back heel, down. Reach forward, reach up, and then I'm rotating. So notice when I'm rotating, I'm actually getting a little bit of tibial rotation. I'm getting some ankle rotation. I'm even getting some foot flexion, right? So I'm actually flexing and engaging throughout my entire foot. And that's happening every single time I do my steps in all of the positions of my foot. So I'm loading through my entire muscular tissue, all of my tissues, right? Bone and tendon and ligament and joint and muscle. And then what that's gonna do is, again, it's getting me fully warmed up and prepped and ready to move. So now I do sort of this curtsy, so back and under, and I'm going down. Again, most of my weight, I can actually lift this foot up. Most of my weight is gonna be on that stepping foot as I reach down, and then I reach forward. So this is much like if I was to turn in a sport, run and turn, this would be that same position that my foot is loaded in. So again, we're loading and then putting some different positions through our upper body so that we're loading that appropriately. And I'm reaching forward, reaching up. Hard one, rotate, rotate, and then extra credit, over the top, lateral flexion, over the top, lateral flexion. Also, we're getting depression and elevation with the scapula, right? So now we're gonna lunge crossover. So a lateral lunge, but crossing over. Now I'm loading in the front, again, loading this foot as we go down, down, forward, forward, up, up, rotate, rotate, reach over the top, lateral flexion for the spine, opening up the lat, elevating the scapula. All right, and then the last position is sort of a 90-degree position. So I'm stepping right in front of my foot, but then turning my foot to a 90-degree, just like if I were to walk off screen, right? Or walk off in a 90-degree direction and lead with that trail foot or that back foot, right? I would do that same step. So call this a post position, post pattern. Reach forward, reach forward, reach up, reach up, rotate, rotate, over the top, lateral flexion. And now you're warmed up and ready to roll. Alternating single leg Romanian deadlifts. We're gonna have just a slight bend in the foot that is planted. Then I'm gonna drive that other heel back. But the most important thing is staying nice and tall, nice and proud through the chest, nice and tall through the spine, out the top of your head. And I'm gonna hold my weight down in just the fully extended fashion. And then I'm gonna lower that weight to as low as I can get while getting a little bit of tension in the hamstring and the glute. Once I feel that little bit of tension, I'm gonna engage, make sure I can control that end range of motion, and then come on back up all the way to fully extended. So everything is good and linear. So ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, ear is all aligned. Switch to the other foot and then drive that opposite heel back now this time and go all the way down into where I feel, into that Romanian deadlift. So where I feel a little bit of tension in the hamstring and the glute, keeping my abs engaged. My chest is nice and proud. My spine is nice and long. Front rack, reverse lunges, alternating reverse lunges. All right, so that front rack, reverse lunge, we're obviously gonna be alternating right and left. So I'm gonna go through full range of motion, try to go as deep as you can while still maintaining control. That means long spine out the top of your head, proud chest, abs engaged, shoulders down and back, and then I'm holding that weight in the front of my chest or in my sternum, right? Engaging with the elbows into my sides, and then I'm gonna lower myself down. 80% of my load is gonna be on that front foot, and then 80% of that load is gonna be through the heel. I'm really gonna try to engage my glute as well as my quad as I go into that reverse lunge, which is actually gonna pay dividend into your hinge, but it is a sort of a squatty movement in that it's a lunge, right? So it tends to be a little bit of both, right? We got quad as the primary mover, but then also a huge assist with the old glute, and everything's kind of combining and working together. Sandbag bent over row with rotation. Most important piece of this is we keep a long spine and proud chest, keep that good vertical core integration. So shoulders down and back, squeezing my scapula together. I'm gonna bend down as far as I can get, as close to parallel to the ground as possible. I might feel a slight little stretch or tug in the hamstring and or glute, right? As long as you don't feel it in your lower back, you know you've got really good engagement. And then from there, I'm gonna go through my basic row like we did on Monday, or we did in other workouts where we're just doing a basic row, but then I'm going to rotate. And so in that rotation, I'm gonna squeeze a little bit more out of all my interscapular muscles as well as my lat. And I'm gonna actually work in rotation, right? So 90% of human movement is based off rotation. We wanna make sure that we're training it. So we're gonna squeeze every little ounce out of this particular movement pattern as possible. Push up with rotation and reach. Obviously normal push-up mechanics, keeping my abs engaged, keeping my glutes engaged, keeping my quads engaged. I'm gonna try to keep ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, and ear all perfectly aligned, including and through my rotation. So when I push up, I'm going to stabilize just like that tri-plank on the one side, and then I'm gonna reach up as high as I can, opening up my chest, opening up my shoulder, retracting my scapula, keeping my chest nice and proud. And then I'm coming back down into the push-up position, lower down, and then I'm switching and opening up and reaching on the other side. If that is too hard, we can do push-up, and then we can do an elbow tap or a shoulder tap, which is a little bit quicker, right, of that sort of triple position or triple platform that we have with our feet and our hands. So I would do a push-up, come up and tap, and then come back down. Mountain climbers. Okay, so the mountain climber, clearly an abdominal core workout. So beauty is we're also working hip flexor, working quad, we're working foot and ankle stability, foot and ankle strength, shoulder stability, scapular strength, all sorts of strength and stability for this particular movement, as well as a little bit of muscular endurance because it's gonna be pretty taxing for your heart and for your lungs. So we wanna keep shoulders down and back, proud chest, long spine out the top of your head, and you're gonna basically take one of your feet and try to bring it up as far as you can and touch it to the ground, and then we'll switch. Flutter kicks. I'm trying to extend everything as far as I can, even through my toes, right? What I could do, right? I could actually bring my toes towards my knee as well, right? That's gonna be a little bit easier. This is actually increasing the lever. So we're a little bit longer, a little bit further from the fulcrum, adding a little bit more attention to my abdominals, right? So rectus abdominis and a little bit of transverse abdominis and a little bit of external, internal oblique, but more just focusing on the front abdominals, as well as the hip flexor, as well as the quad, right? Keeping everything locked out. And then there's a lot of small little rotation happening in the hips. That small little rotation is gonna pay very large dividend into our locomotion and our running and our walking and the things that we normally do. So we'll have a stronger vertical core, which will translate into faster, easier work when we're doing our basic locomotion. Alternating single leg Romanian deadlifts. Front rack, reverse lunges, alternating reverse lunges. Sandbag bent over row with rotation. Push up with rotation and reach. Mountain climbers. Flutter kicks. Alternating single leg Romanian deadlifts. Front rack reverse lunges, alternating reverse lunges. Sandbag bent over row with rotation. Push up with rotation and reach. Mountain climbers. Flutter kicks. Alternating single leg Romanian deadlifts. Front rack reverse lunges, alternating reverse lunges. Sandbag bent over row with rotation. Push up with rotation and reach. Mountain climbers. Flutter kicks. Alternating single leg Romanian deadlifts. Front rack reverse lunges, alternating reverse lunges. Sandbag bent over row with rotation. Push up with rotation and reach. Mountain climbers. Flutter kicks. All right, so we'll go straight into neck rotations. So with the neck rotation, I'm going chin to the chest, and I'm turning right, like I'm looking over to my right without moving my torso. And then extend out the back, rotation to the left, right? And then again, flex down, chin to the chest. So notice the difference between opening your mouth all the way through that range of motion, and then closing your mouth. So if you notice all of your neck musculature, all of your chin musculature, it's getting way bigger stretch when you keep your mouth closed, tongue on the roof of your mouth. So let that remind you to keep your mouth closed, keep your tongue on the roof of your mouth. That's a good reset. And breathe through your nose. And one more. So from the chin, then we'll move just down and we'll go into the scapula. So again, I'm gonna go big ranges of motion, right? And I'm kind of leading with my shoulder, but it's not my shoulder that's creating that range of motion or that rotation. I've got depression, protraction, elevation, retraction, and then depression again. And then I go the other way. So again, I'm keeping my mouth closed. Obviously I'm not because I'm talking you through it. But for you guys, you should be keeping your mouth closed, tongue on the roof of your mouth. And you can even close your eyes if you want to. You might get a little dizzy doing that. But really focus in on resetting parasympathetic, right? Breathing through your nose, good nasal breathing, right, is gonna help vasodilate with that nitric oxide that's being added through the nasal passage. It doesn't get added when we are mouth breathing. Plus, if you're a mouth breather, I mean, come on, who likes that? Nobody likes that. So we'll do nasal breathing only. All right, so then from there, we're gonna go out. So from the midline, we're gonna go out, and I'm gonna do just one shoulder at a time, and I'm gonna bring it through a full range of motion. So overhead extension into internal range of motion, then bring it back up to overhead extension, external range of motion. So again, turning in internal rotation for the shoulder. Obviously my radius and ulna and my elbow is giving myself a little bit of range, but I'm trying to do it all with the shoulder. Again, I'm driving that adaptation, which is increased range of motion for my shoulder. And again, you should be nasal breathing, tongue on the roof of your mouth. Bringing you down into that parasympathetic state. Same with the other side. So again, think about scraping the barrel, right? So if I'm trying to get the last little bit out of the cookie dough, and I'm scraping the sides of the bowl to try to get the last bit of dough to make one more cookie, right? That's what you're trying to think with the shoulder joint. You're trying to scrape all the way around the outside to say, I want just a little bit more of an angle, a little bit more range of motion with my shoulder. And every little bit counts. Every little bit will create capacity. And if you have more capacity, then that means you can handle more, right? You can handle more demand. When demand outweighs capacity, that's when injuries happen. So this is our injury mitigation as well as our improved functional range of motion. So now we'll go into T-spine. So I'm gonna flex my T-spine and try to just flex my T-spine only. So I don't need to flex my cervical spine. So flexing the T-spine, rotating to the left as far as I can without rotating my hips. So keeping the hips muted, and then extend, rotate to the other side and flex back. Go the other way. Obviously I'm doing a little bit of protraction, retraction. So trying to mitigate that as well. Right? And by protraction, retraction, I just mean here with the shoulders, right? Protracting would be coming forward, rounding the shoulder. Retraction would be coming back, right? Widening the chest, squeezing the scapulas together. So again, I'm trying to stay neutral everywhere else, but just my thoracic spine, I'm trying to work on a little bit more range of motion. Again, good nasal breathing. Bringing yourself down into that rest and digest state. That parasympathetic state. Good, so then we'll move down to the hips, and we're just gonna do one hip at a time, just like our shoulder. So if you need to, you can grab onto something, hold onto something, kind of irradiate into it. I'm gonna bring the knee up. I'm gonna go out as wide as I can, bring the knee back, and then bring the knee underneath the hip again. Bring the knee back, out lateral, and around. Again, think we're scraping that bowl, getting that last little bit of cookie dough. Trying to tell my body, hey, I need a little bit more range of motion here. My hips aren't a hinge joint, it's a ball and socket joint. I'd like to have a little bit more of that ball and socket mobility, which is gonna then give us ball and socket stability, which is gonna allow us to squat, lunge, jump, run, all of the basic human movements just a little bit better, because now I can do a little bit of internal rotation or a little bit of external rotation, right, to put myself in positions while I'm in sport or while I'm in life. Same thing with the other side. So if you could tell, like I'm just like you, I've got my limitations, I've got my issues. Obviously my T-spine, my thoracic spine is a little bit tight. I got a compression fracture injury there. My hips are a little bit tight, right? And that's from doing the same thing as you, right? Sitting in a car too long, sitting at a desk too long. I like to make a daily movement practice, but 1 hour a day versus 12 hours a day. If I spend 1 hour a day moving, but then all the other 12 hours, right? Specific adaptation to impose demands. If I'm imposing those demands on my body, they're gonna adapt to them. So I do have range of motion, but I can always be working on it and making it better just like you. So again, good nasal breathing, good rest and digest, parasympathetic. So now we'll go, again, I'm bringing the knee up, and now I'm gonna work tibial rotation as well as ankle rotation and inversion, eversion, right? Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion with the foot. So focusing on knee down now, just trying to scrape the bowl, get the last little bit of cookie dough, try to get a little bit more range of motion out of my foot, my ankle, and my knee. So most common reason for knee injury, lack of tibial rotation, this little part right here, right? And then what's the most common injury after a knee injury from a lack of tibial rotation? Another knee injury, right? The same exact thing. And it's from the same exact reason. So we can try to get in front of that and actually work on our tibial rotation. And then again, I'm combining it all together, making it a little bit more of an interdependent joint mobility piece as opposed to just a dependent or independent joint mobility. But this, working on our range of motion for our foot and our ankle and our knee, is gonna make all of our work that we're doing in our body weight movements that much better, and our locomotion that much better. So again, 5 each way, good nasal breathing, good diaphragmatic breath, and you're done.